Let's go. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go! Let's go! Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Let's go. It's a Sunday evening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever you find yourself. This is your Power Platform show of the week. It is Power Series, and I'm yours truly, Samuel Adranyi. It's been a while since the show has been aired, but thankfully we're back with some, awesome content, um, interesting stuff. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you for making time with us. This is the show that breaks down everything on the Power Platform to the simplest and bare minimum for you to understand. Usually, I would have a guest come on the show, but today, since we're restarting, I don't have any guests, so today's just going to be me. But trust you me, there's going to be a lot of interesting guests coming up as the series, progresses. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about creating custom functions using components. If that sounds interesting to you, stick and stay with me. When we come back, we'll talk more about that. Yeah, so we demystify everything Power Platform on this show. Once again, if you're joining us, this is the Power Series, and I'm yours truly, Samuel Adranyi. If this is your first time, kindly be gracious to us and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel so we can grow the channel and give you awesome content. Thank you again, and it's an awesome Sunday. Hope you had a pleasant Sunday. For those of you that are still in Sunday, hope it's going well, and looking forward to an awesome week. Same here. Well, let's get into it. As always, we know that before we get started with the show, I like to, talk a little bit about stuff that's going on in the Power Platform. Now, one thing I just wanted to talk about has to do with the ability to upgrade um, Power Apps Portal into listen to it, into PWAs. Yes, that is now becoming possible where you can convert your Power Apps portal into progressive web application. That's something that's quite interesting. There are a lot of announcements that were made after Ignite, or sorry, during Ignite. A lot of MVPs, a lot of the Power Addicts have done lots and lots of awesome content. April has done a lot of it. I think Raza has done a lot of it. The Power Addicts has done. They've done a lot of content about that. So I won't spend time with that. I'll be leaving a link to the description to all the Ignite, post Ignite shows that, or series, or videos that most of the Power Addicts have done, so we can review it. But I just want you to know that that is also possible. And something about Power Apps being running natively on your mobile devices, interesting. Also something coming up in that perspective. So yeah, then awesome times, and great times ahead. The second thing I want to talk about um, is the Power Apps developer plan. Yes, we had the um, Microsoft 365 developer plan that allowed you to create a developer account, and then leverage on developing or testing out a lot of things in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, right? So what is happening now is that there is a new one called the PowerApps Developer Plan that allows you to also, have access to Dataverse, all the connects, everything, you would have, you'd have gotten in a normal um, Power Apps plan, right? But this time, a developer account that allows you, all right, that allows you to, test develop on Power Apps. Um, Let me bring up the, where is that? Where is that? Where is that? I'm going to bring up that resource so that we can look at it. And yeah, if you have any questions so far on that, or if you think that sounds interesting, let's see. So let's do this. Let's get the sign up for the developer plans. Oh, I wasn't sharing my screen, so let's go here. Uh, let's bring this here. Okay, let's see that. Just a sec. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum, bum. Let's see. I'm gonna try to bring this here so we can see that. It looks like there has been a switch in my controls. So let's do this. So yeah, you need it as a work or school email, right? To create the account. So if you don't have any, I think if you have, so what you can also do is that if you have the Microsoft 365 account, right? If you have the Microsoft 365 account, developer account, you would have created a username which is seen as a work or school, account, and then you can use that to create it. If you're not sure what the 365 account is, or if you're not sure what it is, let me actually share with you a link to a blog post that I did on how to create that. All right. I think whilst we do that, well, you might be seeing my OBS. So I think for some reason, OBS has decided to steal my, how do you call it? OBS has decided to steal my main screen. So I will be adjusting that on the show for you to see. I don't know what happened. Maybe I did an update and that's what happened. All right, cool. So we should be fine now. All right, so you should be seeing my screen. So if you go to sadranyi.me, which is my, if you go to sadranyi.me, which is um, my blog post, my website, and you scroll, I think all the way down, you should see creating the Microsoft 365 account right here. I created an article, a blog post on how to do that. So you can also use this 365 developer account to also develop for Power Apps. It still works. But if you want to get exclusive, I think that doesn't include Dataverse. So if you want to get the Dataverse one, once you've done the M365 developer account, you can now use the email from there, to go create the Power Apps one. So let me copy this. I'm going to share this with you. So that's the URL. That will show you how to create the M365 developer account. And and the URL is down here. Now, once you've created a developer account, you can now go to the Power Apps developer. Let's go. Let me open that one up as well. So let's copy this. Let's show this. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. Yep, there you go. Let's copy the address. So I'm going to share that as well also in the, so that should update. So that is aka.ms um, Power Apps Dev Plan. Let me actually have this here for you. So this allows you to now create a developer plan for Power Apps, and then you can create all your Power Apps, all right, in there. So that's the, these are the two things I want to get out of the way. So go test it out. Make sure that you're creating. Let me also add it to chat, so that if you're actually joining us and you're not seeing it, you can look at it from there. So that is the two things I want to get out of the way. And don't forget, Tech on Wheels is also rolling out for next year. And Operation 10,000 is still running. So kindly subscribe to the channel and let's grow it. So let's get into today's topic. So we're going to be talking about building custom functions using components. So you might be thinking that components, right? Or if you're not aware of what components are pretty much reusable pieces of I won't say logic, just reusable pieces of objects uh, or controls or collections of controls that you can reuse in your Power Apps development. For example, sometimes you want to have a common header, common navigation bar, common footer, and stuff like that. That should appear on multiple Power Up scenes, screens, right? You don't want to repeat that, and it also affects performance because as you keep repeating controls and label controls on your scenes, on your screens, I mean load times actually increase, and that becomes heavy on the application. So it's good to use components which you can reuse, and once rendered, it's easier to pretty much create a new like create instances of that for you to use. So it's not just for UI presentation or appeal. You can also leverage that functionality to create reusable custom functions. I worked on a project, quite a big project, a couple of months ago, and we found ourselves repeating a bunch of PowerFX formulas, that had to do with setting colors of, shapes and text when something was positive or negative, like changing color to green and red. And we realized that on one scene, we ended up most times having to duplicate the same PowerFX formula to change the color to red or change the color to green. And I was like, there should be a better way of doing it. And thankfully, yes, there are better ways of doing it. You can use that using um, components. So in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to leverage on component to create your custom functions. Aside just the reusable visual appeal, but also custom functions you can use, right? So let's get into that. And don't forget, if you have any questions whilst the stream is going on, this is a time for you. You can ask the questions, and I'll try as much as possible, um, to answer them. All right. Um, whilst we do that, don't forget to share. Tell a friend, to join us, and then we can have some fun. All right. Awesome. Let's see. Let's share this. So, if this is your first time, thank you for joining. This is everything Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, Power BI, everything Power Platform. We handle that as well. So, um, awesome. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Great. So I'm going to switch. Um, and again, and again and again. Well, someone wasn't happy with the changes I did, so my scenes are all acting up. All right. Okay, so I think we're good. All right, so let's go in here. I'm going to close everything, and we're going to get into our. So let's go to. I like to do portal dot office. I like to do it this way, but you can go to apps. Hey, what's up, Dix? Thanks for joining. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. So today we're talking about creating reusable custom functions using PowerApps Component. When you find yourself doing repeating setting logics or sorry, Power effects formulas over and over again, it makes sense to um, create reusable components with those functions to use. I'm going to show how to do that. And another way to also, in terms of, increase the performance of your app is when you have, you realize that you're having multiple of those power effects repeating. It is good to set one element or one control with a property on that control and then inherit it for other controls. So let's say if it's color and you're going to change color to, of different elements, and you have one color that has the power effects formula on it, you can now pick the instance of that color, to do it so that, in terms of load times um, and then rendering, it doesn't affect your application. So I think it's this. So demystify tech dot let's see. I think. Oh, no, no, no. Why did I use? Or maybe. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this. All right. If not, I think it's gonna be on Microsoft. But I think it is the correct one. We got it. So let's go. All right. So I like to go to um, portal.office.com so I can get everything and then move from there. So yeah, let me add it to it, and then I can expand all my apps. Let's open up all my apps, and then we can do Power Apps. So pretty much, uh, that's how. But you can decide to go to make.powerapps.com. It will still get you there. If you already have the Power Apps account, you can go there, and that should solve that problem for you. Let me bring the zoom it to, so we can get to zooming and zoom out when we need. Let's close this. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop the questions so we're answering it. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, so we're going to create a new Canvas app, right? Very basic Canvas app. If you're not aware on how to create this, you can check my previous episodes where I shared how to, like, s- a lot of, videos on how to, get started with Canvas apps and stuff like that. So yeah, so we're going to create a Canvas app from blank. Let's use a phone, and then let's call this custom function, and then create. So canvases are pretty much free form power ups that allow you to, pretty much create it in your own way and connect it to the data source. Data driven, model driven apps are based off of a data um, source, and then it picks the data source and creates kind of like the forms and tables and galleries and stuff for you. So let's skip this. All right. So as you can see, um, from this first app, I only have one scene, right here. It's just one scene. However, assuming I want to have multiple scenes, it's quite easy. I'll just go ahead, and if you look at the top here, I'll just add a new scene. It could be a blank scene, it could be any of those templates. I just want to add another blank scene. All right. And so let's rename the scene by just double clicking on it and calling this scene main, and then we'll call this screen. Let's call this screen menu. No, let's just call this screen info. All right. I think I need to rename this. Okay. So assuming that for all my screens, I want to let's insert. Let's go to icons. Let's say I want to um, I mean, this is just for, demo purposes, so we can just add that to it. And remember this is on the main screen. So let's say, let me put the save here, right? And then let me add a label. And then here we are going to say, so let's bring this label down here. And let's change the text to powered by Power Series. All right. Center it and let's put the auto height on. All right. So let's assume that I want these features to be repeated on all my screens. All right. Now, if you're new to it, you realize that there is label 1 and icon 1 on the left side here, you know, which is um, which is pretty much telling you the different elements or components you have on your screen, correct? So if I wanted this to also be on, you know, the screen info or info screen, all right, um, and you decide to, well, to maintain the location and everything, you're just going to copy it, all right. For the sake of navigation, let's also insert a button, and you see how interesting and easy it is to add the Power FX um, to your Power Apps. I think it's unusually slow, maybe because of the bandwidth and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in the middle somewhere. Yeah, here. And then I'll change the text on it, this time using the text properties on the top right here. So the first time I double clicked on it, but this time I can just come in here to the text properties and change it. Okay, so I'll just go here and say uh, info page, and then I'll just do this. All right, so and then in the formula, it's as easy as navigate and open parentheses. I am navigating, and um, you can see here also the event on that particular object. In this case, the button. So the on select event of it. That is what I want to do. I want to navigate to the screen info, and once you save and run this, you should get, IntelliSense on, yeah, as you can see. I think yeah, there you go, screen info. You get IntelliSense. All right, so now when we run this Power App, the default screen is going to be the main one, and when I click on this button, it will just take me to the info screen. All right, so let's save. I'm going to save this. Let's save it. And the cool thing about this as well is, when you're saving Power Apps, you have the options to put comments, right? To save different versions of the app. And then when you're publishing, you can choose the version of the app you want to publish. So maybe you've done some changes and that change doesn't have to go into production yet. You can always, keep in terms of like source control, you can keep a version that is being used, and then when everything is okay, you can now deploy the other versions of it. So let's just save this. Um, and we'll test it. So two ways. With this save, I won't publish this here. So to run it, for those that's, if it's your first time, uh, if it's your first time with, how do you call it, with Power Apps, you can do that by going to the top here and then hitting the play button here, this particular play button right here. So, or if you want to kind of like do an in view, you can just press Alt, the Alt key, and every control element on the page will be highlighted for you to make that selection. So I'm going to click on the play for the first time, and as you can see, this is the app, and when I click on the info page, pretty much we navigate to, it's a blank page. I mean, just to show that it's the correct page. I'm going to close it, and then on the screen info, let's put a label um, here, and then let's just put it somewhere here. Let's say in the middle, so we can all see it. And then I'll say this is uh, the info, or let's call this the information screen, so that when we navigate to it, you can see it. Now the navigate also takes a second argument, that is a transition. That determines how you transition from one screen to another. You can set it, or you can just leave it by default, and then it will just pick a default transition. So let's do that. Let's do this here, and then we'll say this is the information screen, and then we'll center this. Let's make it semi-bold. Center this, and actually, let me just make it bold. All right. So let's save again. Good practice to be saving so you don't lose anything. So now if you go to the main screen and I run again, so you will notice that when I hit this, now it takes me to my information screen. So, I mean, very basic. I mean, today we're keeping it very simple to explain the concept so you can use the concept to do other stuff. So very simple, very minimal, nothing crazy. Now, so if I wanted, right, if I wanted this save button, all right, and let's say, um, let's put another one here. Where is the home or the back button? Yeah, let's just put the home button here. Uh, okay, so let's put the home button here. So this is only on the first page. Okay, so if for some reason I wanted to have this on the second screen, right? You think that, oh yeah, somehow about we just copy. Now see what happens, right? If I'm on a screen one, and let's say I select this, that, and copy, and I come to screen two, and I paste this, right? Now, see what happens. Now, I have icon 2, 1, icon label 1, 1, and icon 1, 1, right? Because that's going to pretty much just clone it, right? Now, if for some reason, okay, the the action or the PowerFX logic for this button changes in one by virtue of you copying, I mean, if you change it after you copied it, it doesn't propagate to the previous version. So all I'm saying is, let's say here, right on the home screen, on the main screen, you as we copied it, and then we come to um, the second screen, right, and then add some functionality to this home button. This functionality will not be replicated in the main screen. It will not, because it's not kind of like a reference instance where anything you do to it happens to. In this case, it's just an instance of a clone. All right. Now, imagine having to do this for 10, let's say 5, 10 screens. If your app is made up of that number of screens, all right, that is not efficient. It's not an efficient way to go about it, not at all. So the solution then will be, so we can delete. Let's delete this on the second on the detail page, and then even on the main screen, right? So what we can do is on just by the if you are in the layers or tree view, just by it here, you should see component. All right. So if you click on component, we're going to click on new component. All right. And I just want to illustrate that um, components are not just for visual, UI aesthetics, but also you can add functionality to them and reuse that as custom functions. So um, so yeah, we can give it a name. You can stick to some very good standard. All right. So let's say this can be the, let's say, header component. All right. And with this done, I can go here, copy this and just copy it, go to my component and paste them here. All right. Now by default, it picks the width of the mobile app. All right. So I can go ahead and change this. Let's see. I like to use 100 or 80. Um, yeah, I think let's try 80. Yeah, I think 80 is fine. So what I do is I I try this and then I move the controls in there. All right. So now this has created a header, and then I can go into this icon and probably name it as let me do this. Let me call it the home icon, and then we can call this the save icon. All right. Awesome. So this here now this here now is my first component, right? So with this, I can now go to my screen and then delete all that. And then this time around, I can go to custom, and then you can see header component at the top here. So when I click header component, that adds an instance of that one here. And you can see header component one showing in the element or object list, right? So here I can go in there and rename it and call this, let's say, main screen header component, right? Now the good thing about this is this time onward, any change. So check this out. Now it's blue, right? Let's actually zoom in so you can see this properly. So all this is, some deep blue, right? But if I and actually let's add it to the info screen as well. So the same thing. I'll just go to custom, add the header component, and then this will also be added to this page. And then again, so with the name, I can now call this info info header component. All right, much easier, much appealing. And now for both the main screen and the info screen, I have the component. So now I can reuse it. Good thing is that any functionality or changes I make to this is now propagated to all the other instances of it. So let's say even here, if I decide to change the color, all right, let's say we're changing the color to let's change this color to, let's change it to green. I mean, let's see, this is white, and let's do this. Let's change this to green. All right. So let's say I change this to green and I save this. Now what's going to happen is that now if I go to all the other screens that are using the instance of this component, right, this change is going to take effect. So one place propagate all to other places. So if we go back to the screens, um, so you can see that right now on the information screen is green. If you go back to the main screen as well, that is also what, green. So traditionally, components pretty much used to UI aesthetics. However, components go a step further. All right. So let's say in this particular component, I want to add some kind of customization. So let's say we are going to add a label to it, and this label is going to be the title. All right. So let's say it's going to cover the space here and cover the space here. All right. Let's still do it this way. Yeah, and let's shift this a bit. So let's say this covers here, right? So we're going to make this semi-bold and centered. Let's do it centered, and then let's say auto text. All right. So pretty much this is just a label, correct? Well, yes, it's just a label. However, how do we make this configurable? Now, knowing that what we have now, okay, um, as we save, all the other instances where it is applied will all be showing text. Will all be showing text, 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 text. That's not a good use of it. So if you come back to your screen and you go to the top, yeah, you realize that it's showing text here. Now, even if you go to the info screen, it's still showing text, which is not appropriate. So this is where properties, right? Custom properties for components coming. And this is what we're going to reuse, or we're going to leverage on to create our custom function, all right, and reuse them. So you can create two types of custom properties. This could be input properties or output properties, right? Input properties, as the name is implied, these are properties that when you create the instance of the component, you can pass these properties to, right? And then output properties are properties that the instance will, will give you, kind of like you can request or get from the property, from the component, once you create an instance of it. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to create one, and we're going to call it title. All right. So the display that will be showing there, let's say the display name is, um, let's say screen title. All right. And then the name of the property itself will be screen title. You can change it anyway, and you can give it a description. So you can say um, title of, let's say screen, or say, let's say title displayed displayed on component header. All right. And then you see the property type here. The property type here is an input, which means we are going to provide that as an input. Okay, we're going to provide that as an input. So, and then the data type. So that's a good thing. We're going to see a lot of data. This has actually um, expanded or increased over the years. So now we can have a text, a number, a boolean, a datetime, a screen, a record, a table, an image, video, audio, color. All right. And for today's purpose, we're going to use color to show how to create a custom function using the controls, the component. So I'm just building upon it. So now this is going to be a text. This is just a text property, but then we can add, we can add more to it. So it's a text, and here raise on reset. Now, if this is turned on, what happens is that um, it would the reset behavior will run anytime the input changes. So the reset of the component will run on reset will run, which means properties will be reset and stuff will run again. Um, I mean, we'll just leave that blank for now. We can talk about that, in another um, how do you call it? We can talk about that in another um, episode. Oh, I don't think we saved it. We didn't click the create, so we lost it. So let's quickly do it. So let's say let's call this header title custom. So let's say title displayed in header. It's an input, is a text, and I'll click on create. For the sake of the fact that we're going to be using color, I'm going to create another property. All right. So create another one, and then we'll call it. Let's call this title color. All right. This is also an input, but this time around it is a data type of color. All right. And then we can save this. Create. So now this our component has two properties, two input properties. All right. It's got the header title and the title color. Right. So how do we affect this? Now before we go, we're just going to do some simple power effects here. So I'm going to say that this label, right? This label we added, the text for this label should always be, and what's the name of the component? So here is going to be the header component dot the name of the property called header title. That's it. And then we save. So now what this means is that when you put an instance of this property on your screen and you update, so what's going to happen is that it's going to show up as part of the properties for this particular component, as we can see on the top left here, right? So we can now go to all the pages that we've added it to and then go and change the header title and header color properties, and that should reflect on the page. So let's save this and then go to the screen. So now on the, let's start on the information screen. All right. So on the information screen, let me bring this here. So we want to use this, we want to put the information here. So now if you select that component and you look at the top left where the properties are, you will see here header title. So let's do this, which is what we set as one of the custom properties for this component. All right, cool, awesome. So I'm going to select the header title, and then you see here set to text. So in here, I'm going to do information, right? Let's just say information, and then I'll save that. Oh, sorry, I selected it. Let's see, header title information. Why is it showing 3? Did we change it? Oh, yeah, I need to put it in quotes. And there you go. So you can see that now on this page, it's showing information. So I can delete this label peacefully. All right. Now, when we go to the main screen, you see the main screen is also showing text. However, the same thing, if we select it, go to the title, header title, and say now this is called the home, you can see how it's changing. We can say home screen, right? So that is it. Now if we also want to change the color, still select it, and then we can go for the title color, and then this one we can say color dot, let's use no, let's use red. All right, that's it. Oh, hold on. And yeah, we changed it, but we didn't apply it in the control in the component. We didn't tell the component that anytime that color changes, change the text. So let's save this. Let's quickly go and do that in the component. We'll do that. Looks like and then we can come back to. Forgive me because we didn't start early. I'll probably go like 10 minutes into time so we can finish this. So let's go back to the component and then we'll select the text. And just like we did for the text, we'll say that the color for this text should also be set to, what's the name of the component? Header. So this should give us some intelligence. So yes, so header component dot, we can do the, I think it's the, yeah, title color, right? And that's it. So we're going to save this. So with this saved, if we now go back to all the instances that are using it, so far as you've set the color, it will take effect and change the title color. It is based on this premise that let's save this. So it's based on this premise or this approach that you can use the same thing to set or to create a custom function that you can use within your application. All right, and then we're going to quickly show, I'm going to quickly show you how to leverage that. So if we go to the screen here, let's go to the main screen. So on the main screen, as you can see, this is red. But if you go to the info, it is still info and then, black. Again, I can go here, select the title color, and then I can do color dot blue. There you go. Oh, no, 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 no. We need to do this. Yeah, there you go. And then we save. Yeah, I think because I'm also, so you can see now for this page, for this screen, the text title is information, the information and the color is blue. For the main page, it's home screen and it's red. So we've basically created a custom component, and now we can reuse this on any number of pages. Now with the same premise as to how to change name, create properties, and stuff like that. All right. This is how this is how you can use this to create custom, let's say, custom functions. All right. So let's create a scenario. Let's say we're on the home page. Now there are times when I'm going to go to add icons. Yeah, so let's do a check badge. Let's do it here, right? And then I'll put another label here, and then I'll center this. I'll make this bold, right? All right. Now, there might be instances where if everything is okay, right, you want to do something like this. Let's see, what is the color? You want to do something like this, right? Let's say, yeah, green. And then um, the text as well, you want to make the text green, right? If everything is okay. But then you want to, change this to a cancel, and then change this to red, put a message in red, in a red color, when something goes bad. All right. Now, if you happen to be writing PowerFX for this to say that, oh, if something is true, if a response is true, right, um, let the color be red. So let the color be green. If it is false, let it be red. If you happen to be writing this PowerFX, let's say I have this also the same way. If I have the same thing on like 10 pages, it means that I have to go and declare some variable and say that, oh, if it, assuming you're also calling an API, right? An API returns a response of true or false, right? And you want to, based on the true or false, you want to toggle the UI colors and stuff like that. Now, if you have to be doing this on multiple pages, again, just like we saw with the custom connectors, it is not scalable, right? It is not effective. And by so doing, the easiest approach is to create another component and then leverage functionality in there and use it, right? So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now that you understand how to create component and add properties, is the same premise. So let's go here and pretty much create a new component. Um, and this time, again, the same way, right? But now watch this. Because this component is not visual, right? Because this component is not a visual component, it means that it's not for UI aesthetics, all right? What I usually do is that I change the width and height to 80, 80, 80. So it's just like a very small, sometimes even depending, I can do 50-50, right? So it's just a small box somewhere. There are no controls on it, all right? However, I'm going to leverage its custom properties to build my functionality, right? So all the logic that I would have repeated in PowerFX on all the 10 or so screens would all happen in this particular component formula once. And then once I implement this on all my other pages, that is simple. So let's create a scenario. The scenario is that when we pass true, right, as a status to this particular custom component function, it's going to return to us a color, right? And then also a boolean that we can use. Now, for some time, when I've been doing API calls into Power Apps, sometimes the true is seen as a text field, and 1 and 0, even number, are seen as numbers. So it's quite difficult at some points to say, well, true is actually a true, and then false is a false. So on that premise, we're going to create something very simple. So let's get into it. So in here, first of all, we're going to create a first custom property, and we're going to call this We're going to call the status. All right, so the status of a call. We can just leave it to the status, and then we can, let's give it a description. Let's say API. Um, let's say API response status. All right, and this is an input, right? Even though it says it's going to be Boolean, sometimes it doesn't see the Boolean. All right, but we're just going to assume for the sake of um, the demo, right? We're just going to assume that it's going to be a Boolean. All right, so that our work is not too. But if it's a text, you can write if statements to do that. So this is a Boolean, and then we're going to create. Okay, then we are going, so this is an input, right? It's a Boolean input. Now we're going to create a new property called let's call this status color, right? Yeah, I know I'm writing the American color, forgive me, even though it's pretty much British, right? So this will be the returned status color. All right, and this time it's an output, right? Which means that we can call the name of this component dot this particular property, which is the status color, and we'll get whatever color it is. All right, and this one is a type of what? It's a color, and then we'll create. So now we have created two properties, status and then status color. I'm going to create one more, all right, for the sake of just adding some spice to it, and I'll call this is valid, right? Um, and this is also going to be an output, and this is also a type of what? Um, Boolean, right? Now, think about this. You can, and here's the case. You can make this, you know, as creative as you want, in the sense that you can even decide to put the messages you want to show here, and that's up to you. All right, no big deal. Now, once you've created the properties, it's time to add the PowerFX. Now, PowerFX is synonymous to the formula you write in Excel, and that has also gone to now. PowerFX is now going to Excel as well. So just like writing, if you're familiar with Excel, pretty much is the same thing, right? So now, what's the logic? The logic is that I'll be passing a true or false to this component, which is going to be my function, right? And based on that, I want this status color to be set to either red, okay, or what? Red or what? Green. And then the is valid will simply return a true or what? Or false. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to select from the left side here the is valid. All right, and this is it. So we are saying that is valid is going to be, let's give this component a name. So let's call this the status component. All right, so to set the is valid output for our function, what you're going to do is you're going to say that it's as simple as this, right? So is valid is going to be, because it's a boolean, we're just going to map this to the status component dot status. All right, that's it. So if the status is true, is valid to return true. All right, if status is false, is valid to return false. Right, then we'll go to the color. So let's go to status color. All right, now how do we set the color? This is what we're going to do, the if statement. So here I'm going to say if. All right, so here again, so if the status component dot is valid, right, which is if it's true, I want it to return what? Color dot green. Okay, if it is not valid, I want it to return what? Color dot red. Pretty much that's it. That's it for the component, and this is a very basic minimal component. All right, so let's save this component, and then now let's go to how do you call it? Let's go to our page and do it. Like I was saying, you can even decide, all right, to even add more stuff to it. Okay, to add like now we've added the is valid, the status. You can even decide to even add the icon here if you want to, because you don't want to rewrite, you don't want to rewrite a lot of the things. So you know what? Just for the sakes of let's go and add one. So let's call this one icon, right? No, let's call this status icon. And then this is going to also be an output, and this is going to be an image, right? And then we create this. And again, you want to set, so all this, imagine, so all this PowerFX you are writing would have been repeating this PowerFX on multiple pages, right? Or sorry, multiple screens. But because we are using the component to cite as a custom function, we can reuse this, right? And again, so now you go here and do the status icon. And again, so I can actually, so let's actually, well, no problem. We can just go and do this again for the sake of learning. Again, so now I can say if the status component, right, dot is valid, right, what am I returning? So another nifty option here, we can say return icon dot, I think is check. There you go. No, check badge, yes. So check badge, and here you can use any other, or if it's not true, if it's not valid, all right, you want to return icon dot, I think it is cancel badge. Yes, there you go. So pretty much, let's save this. So now our function is done, right? Literally, our function is done. Now we just have to go and apply it to the various screens where we want to, utilize it. So anytime you get an API response, and API has a status of true or false, and you want to change UI aesthetics based on that, you have this kind of like function that returns, three properties: status color is valid and status icon, for you to use in your app. All right. So let's go ahead and do that whilst it's saving. And then once that is done, we can call it a day for today's show. So I hope this is making sense. If it's not, please feel free, drop me, questions in the chat, in the comments, and I'll respond. All right. So now that this is done, let's go back to our screen. So you realize that here in screen one, let's go up here. So here in screen one, we just put this image here, and then we put this text here, right? Just put it here. Now, how do we utilize our function? Again, very simple. So you come here to custom, and then you see status component, you click to add it to the screen. And then that's why I made it very small, as you can see, 80 by 80. So I can just drop it somewhere, and it's invisible. So I just drop it here, and you can even squeeze it small. The only thing is, let that instance be on your page somewhere small, right here. So now let's see how that works, and don't forget to give it a name. All right, so here we can call it main status component, right? So this is a main status component. We've given it a name. So now how do we do this? So first of all, let's select the main status component and go and set its status, right? Let's set it to false for now. So we'll set it to false. That's it. So now we are passing false to it, right? So it's somewhere here. So oh, look at what we type SE. Okay, great. So now the status, right? The status input property for the component is false. So by the PowerFX rating, it means that the color should be red, the image should be cancelled, right? So how do we apply this? So now we can select this image, right? And say that your image, or yeah, let's use the color, let's set the color as well. The color now, all right, I don't know why it's, yeah. So the color now should be set from where? The main status component dot, you see that status color. Now look at what happened. Immediately, it has changed to red. Do you see that? And now that was it. We only did for color, right? So we can repeat this now. So this is what I was saying. I was saying that we don't want to repeat, because this would have been the same code to say that main status color, main status component, or status color, right? You'd have repeated this for the text, but we don't want to do that. For performance, yeah, Edwin, thank you so much. Good to know that it is it is insightful. Now, to make this app performant, right? You don't want to go back. So here, let's do this. So it would have been color, right? And then you would have copied again the same thing here, right? And this also be red. But we don't want to do this. But rather, what we want to do is, you see this here? Let's give it a name, all right? Let's just say icon 3, right? Or let's just call it status. Let's call it status badge, all right? But instead, for performance sake, we're going to say that the color of this text, right, should be what? The status badge dot, we should have some IntelliSense happening. Okay, I'm just going to do this quickly. So now, do you see this? So which means anytime the color for this changes, by inference, this would also change. So to test it, let's go here and set this one. Okay, yeah, so yeah, there's something wrong here. I think it didn't. Yeah, BAD. Is this BADG? I don't know why. It's maybe because I'm, still streaming. So it's okay. So yeah, there you go. Color, capital C. Good. So that's it. That should fix that problem. The color here is state. What did we? Yeah, there you go. So that's correct. Yeah. So now look at this. If we go ahead and change this to true, which will automatically change the color for this, that should also infer and change the color of the text. What is it saying we typed? Oh no, yeah, status is true. Yeah, do you see that? So you realize that it all changed to red immediately. So that is a more performant way to do it. Now let's do the last one before we close, which is the image, right? So we'll select this and then say that the image, where is, yeah, the icon, right? The icon here should now be, again, we should use our how do you call it, main status component dot, let's get some IntelliSense, the status icon. All right. Uh-oh, a whole lot of it's no, let's redo this. So it's main, yes, no, 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 let's do this. So main status, I think my so there we go, main status component dot, let's get some IntelliSense, so that, there you go. So let's, yeah, status icon, there you go. And then let's wait for it to pick up, and I can save this. Hopefully that will leave the formula bar and then do this. And to verify that this is working, right? To verify that this is working, we just go back to the main status component, which is now a function, and set the status to false. And let's see what happens once it picks it. We're expecting the badge to change to a cancel. We're expecting the text, the color to change to red, and we're expecting the text color to also change to red. All right. So let's go ahead and see. Yeah, it's saving. Yeah, let me actually close one of these tabs. So because I'm streaming at 1080p and at the same time running this. That's why I think I need to get a hardware encoder to offload all the streaming to it. Save, 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 save. So we can see our changes and we can call it a day for this episode. Yeah, with that said, if you have any questions whilst the saving is happening, if you have any questions, kindly, and there you go. So realize that because the status is false, it sets the badge to the correct icon and set the text to red and the color to red, right? If we went ahead and changed this to true, all right, then after I propagate, this should turn to a check and then the color should be green. I think it didn't. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, green, green, stop. So that is how to use component to create your custom component to properties and then convert them to functions you can use within your screens. So now I can reuse this several times on as many pages. It's going to be performance, it's going to be simple and easy. I don't have to be repeating code as the programmers say dry. All right. So Fusion development, this is how to use a component to create a custom function that builds a better app. Now, if this seems something that was interesting to you, please make sure you leave a comment in the comment section, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that if you release any videos, we can, you can be the first to get it. And if you think this is interesting, everyone support the channel. Yeah, I'm on Patreon, coming out to Squad. Check, the show notes and, give us some thumbs up and give us some good ratings. With that said, stay safe, be good, have an awesome evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you find yourself. And then let's go positive into the new week. Love you all. I'm out.